Hello,
Welcome.
episode 18. We changed it up.
We changed it up a little bit because we had a podcast earlier on, two-part episode podcast where I interviewed Jacob, but we counted it as one episode, but really it's just more convenient for us to each video, no matter if there's two parts, three parts, four parts, whatever, it's going to be, each part is going to be an episode. And it's just going to be a kind of a can't do thing.
If we happen to have like three people that have been consistent viewers of all the podcasts,
If you are very disappointed by this change, we are sorry. Last episode we said it was 16, really 17. Now that's a mind-boggling thing.
Yeah.
But if you can kind of wrap your brain around it.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But anyway, yeah. So welcome, and we're not really going to be focusing on finance. I mean, we might talk about it, but we're just having a chill weekend, and really it's an open podcast. We're just going to be vibing.
Yeah, the main thing is like I want to like if we're talking about investing and stuff, I really want to like try at least attempt to give value. And really this week has been interesting. I've had kind of had a rough day earlier this week, and I realized I needed to chill out a bit, focus on different things. Started listening to science fiction books, and I know like well that's not productive or whatever, but finding that my current state, I picked a path and listened to all these podcasts and everything, and I'm like focusing really on like hardcore on money and wanting to get somewhere. I found like it was just a lot, and like it was like stressing me out and unnecessarily because there's not really that much I can do.
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm in the trucking industry. Yeah, 10-hour day is a short day typically. So it's it's exhausting and like constantly thinking of finding that I'm over exhausted. So decided to chill out, calm down,
Have a easy chill weekend. And
yeah,
not focus on the nitty gritty finance stuff, and just relax and vibe.
yeah. We've actually been talking for about an hour and a half.
Yep.
Chilling on phone charts.
Yeah. Dead
I
phone.
keep on saying he's getting his phone, but
I don't.
it's
The Galaxy S22.
smarter with
It's a
money than
perfect.
me, maybe.
It's a perfect phone. And who would? But yeah, we were kind of chatting it up while my phone was charging, and we were talking about relationships a little bit. So kind of dive into that a little bit. What was the statistic again? It was like we were looking at.
They're probably wrong, but the statistics. I in the comment section, another person commented on the post. Some random acquaintance I made commented they they put in the parameters women from I think it was 28 to like 35, and they put in not obese. Um, they put actually zero money,
No kids.
no kids,
Yeah.
and the statistics was like 3%.
Yeah. So really
Really low,
really minute.
but that was funny. It just kind of made me think. I've I've been single for a while.
If there's any women out there that find him sexy, well, really, this is really just a marketing video for Jacob.
Yeah.
If you're out there, you're single, you don't have kids, you're not obese. You're not obese.
As someone who lives with his brother,
Right, yeah.
cat's right here.
That's super winner.
Non-alcoholics for a couple months now.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, we mentioned that earlier, right? Like basically, I think we mentioned that on an earlier podcast that you're cutting out the alcohol for 6 months, right?
6 months.
That's the goal.
I can't remember where I'm at now.
I think you're at like almost 3 months. I think.
It's past that.
Or okay, past that. Probably half, at least maybe 3 months and 2 weeks, 3.5 months.
I think it was like middle of January, wasn't it?
Where you stopped?
Yeah. January, February, March, April. So 3.5 months, I think. But whatever.
Who's counting?
Who's counting? I forgot. But yeah. Yeah, there's days I miss beers. Having a beer after a long day. But
Okay.
um
But it's nice not to be hungover.
yeah, but I'm drink that much hungover.
Okay.
But anywho. Relationships,
They're bad.
yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, in the United States it's kinda interesting looking at that. I've honestly considered like going outside of the United States overseas because I feel like the the values from what I've seen with especially with like Instagram and Snapchat and all these things like even Tinder.
Yeah.
It's if you see like a pretty girl or something like that,
Yeah.
usually like the followers or whatever, they're getting a lot of satisfaction from like all the followers. I'm thinking maybe this isn't true.
Right.
And it's like
Validation.
yeah, and it's like the options I think like having like so many options
Yeah.
and can be like
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I feel like it can make it less special.
Yeah.
It can make it less special because, well,
You're replaceable.
right.
You're replaceable. But that's also like an insecurity thing. But it is also
That's also true.
yeah, but I find it well typically if you're in a normal situation, you're finding your partner when you're younger.
Sure.
Typically. And like honestly, I think like a lot of the relationships like that, um like the most options you have I think when you're in high school.
Yeah.
And
High school,
a lot of high school sweethearts out there, and then you get into your 20s.
Yep.
20s are still decent. Like in college, that's where a lot of them. I'm probably the majority of college.
Yeah.
When I think about it.
Yeah,
but
a lot of college.
Then you get
workplace sometimes.
Yeah. And then the older you get, I know I have two friends that I'm close to, and like they talk about it, and they're both in their 30s, and it's like it's really hard to find someone. They're both good people,
Right.
and it's like yeah,
it's funny. So like in your case, you're a divorcee, but like it's funny too because I feel like once you get to 30, and if you find like a single woman, no kids, not in a relationship, obviously, you're going.
yeah, that I've heard that. Like if you're a single woman above 30, I'm sorry, there's probably not any. But anyway,
why didn't you get picked?
Well, there's usually something. I heard that, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it can be a tough one. I've had many conversations. I've been optimistic, but mainly because I just haven't like I had like a fling like 6 months ago or something like that, but I going into it, I knew I just wasn't ready or not in the right
relationship mode.
Yeah, and I went was blatantly honest about it, but it's it can be tough, and um, I see a lot of guys out there, a lot of guys that struggle with this, and I mean it. I guess I'm not giving any advice because I'm in the same boat, like frustration wise, like thinking about like where like what are the I know like going like being a part of a community.
Yeah.
And I've noticed like usually it's I mean a lot of communities like would be religious. Like I'm not like a super religious person.
Right. But a lot of people that's the other thing. A lot of people find their like spouse or person that they get into a relationship with at church. Because it's like familiar place and you have community. And it can be a struggle without it. But at the same time, I feel like too we're in an environment where there's not a lot of young people in church.
Yeah.
Or not a lot of can I still call myself a young person?
A what?
A young person?
A young person?
Yeah.
I would pull out a young person.
Hey.
So,
No, but yeah, there's just like I feel like there's not a lot of people that are younger that go to church.
yeah.
It can be hard.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you used to be able to find that, and it's I definitely it is a make like a community thing. Like I could like I've seen like we're all disconnected. We don't like we all were in tribes, not us right now, but like back in the day, we all were in our villages, like
And you would date whoever was
yeah,
within
there,
a certain mile radius.
yeah, and then you have like the way things are now, like we're there's way more people, but way more disconnection. Like like you don't have a village. Like it takes a village to raise a child. You have a lot of single mothers. Like everyone's living farther apart for different opportunities,
So,
and families have fractured. Like I know my family growing up, my dad and his family, and my mom and her family, all my uncles and aunts. We used to have different family reunions and stuff, and like that seems like it's kind of gone away. That family group that I loved when I was a kid, like for the most part, it's not there. It's big, and like as a kid, those were things I looked forward to most. And I still like like yeah. I wonder how common that is for. Um, I know I've seen a couple family groups that still stick together, but for the most part, I just see a lot of individuals that don't have a lot of family. Yeah, and I think I think that's a major part in all the depression that and
yeah.
stuff going on.
Well, yeah, because it's like too. Yeah, I feel like that is very true. I think a lot of people are like atomized and they're trying to go out and chase success. Like especially if you're a young guy, you go out and you try to chase success, but you don't really have that village around you where you have elders or older adult males that are kind of showing you the way, and then you also don't have um, those community gatherings where you're going to have those chance meetings with the opposite sex and to sit down in a comfortable environment and start talking without the pressure of like say swiping right on Tinder and
Yeah.
that whole interaction because that's also like it seems like very artificial because it's like I feel like with and this is just my ideology on this. I don't know if it's true all the way, but some is due from my experience and some is just from what I've read and listened to. But things like women for the most part are very much more about um, you know they get attracted to um, things that are more personality and conversation and success in different fields of for men and the men are not they obviously are attracted to that as well, but they are also very visual. And the problem is that I think through these apps, a lot of women are getting a lot of validation from men that are they're just looking at the outside, and then they get all this validation, and it's almost to the point where it's they're instead of actually getting into a strong relationship with a man, a lot of women are actually happy with just the immense amount of validation that they get from random men. Mm-hmm. And then the men are attracted sexually, and then they have all this like visual stimuli, and then they're not really motivated to go out and actually talk to women very much.
Well, and also
it could be a problem.
It's like we're very distant in our society. So you see someone like I've seen like a pretty girl here and there, maybe at like a gas. It's weird if you go up and talk to a girl at a gas pump. Like there's just not many situations. Yeah, you can be like bold or stuff, but it's like
And most of the time they're already in a relationship.
and most of the time, yeah.
Or they're just kind of like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to pump my gas.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Probably not the best. Don't do that. Probably. I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I think do it, but like I don't think
Send it.
Yes, I think send it, but like I think I think the chances are super high. I think the most natural thing is like, you're friends with somebody and they're like, hey, I know you, there's this girl, I know her. Hey, why don't you guys hang out and start hanging out? And it's like not a it's not a contrived, of course, thing.
Yeah.
Natural thing for everybody's friends. I think that's a big problem. It's like kind of going back to what we said, like lack of community.
Yeah, and lack of community. I mean, a lot of relationships are set up. You've got like like in history there was the matchmakers, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it actually worked.
It worked pretty well because it broke through the ice at least. I mean, as long as like I've heard like of arranged marriage and all that. I disagree with that.
As long as you're not like trading your daughter as like for some
sheep.
like diamond or some sheep, some camels.
This daughter's worth 25 head of cattle. This one's 100.
My daughter's very pretty. I say she's worth 20 acres.
Oh my word. Anyways.
Yeah. But it's true. It used to be that way.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Down with the patriarchy.
Yeah,
That's
that were more modern days, somewhat.
So,
but yeah, no, it's you base a lot of relationships were like when you have intuition. Some people have like older people can have good intuition, then they just like kind of arrange like almost like a meetup or whatever.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah, I've also kind of a thought that I've heard about before, which I think is actually very true, which is women are typically a little bit more choosy than men are. Just however, that's what I've heard, and it seems like nowadays too with the internet, it's like women are able to pick from just an onslaught of guys some of the men.
Yeah.
And you think, well, that's good, whatever, right? But the problem is just because it's gonna sound bad, but just because a guy is willing to date you or possibly sleep with you does not mean that he's willing to have a meaningful relationship with
you. Yeah.
And so the problem is that there could be a couple really, really attractive, successful men that will date these girls, but
they're not serious because they got a lot of options.
They're not serious, but they have because they have a lot of options, and they're kind of in this like psychopathic. I just want to sleep as soon as possible. And the problem is that they're able to get these women to sleep with them, and the woman is going, okay, now I slept with them, I should be able to have a relationship. But the guy's just like, yeah, on to the next. But the problem is that what it does is it actually, in some ways, ruins the woman because the woman now has this experience with this guy that was like, very wealthy, very smart, very intellectual, good talker, had maybe a couple businesses. And now it's really hard to go and date that guy that's struggling, but that is actually would want a meaningful relationship with her, and that is on the same level with her, and that she could have been happy with. But now it's kind of like it's like if you've seen, the best movie in the world, and then you go to watching this other movie here, this other movie is not. So,
by the way, that the first guy that was bad to begin with might actually end up like being a decent person when he's older.
Yeah, no, very well, sure.
It's like it's kind of just natural human instinct. It's not like, oh, this person's bad because of this and this person's bad because of that. It's like it's kind of like a natural thing. Like you take the person that is like does want a meaningful relationship or whatever, when same place as the other person.
Yeah.
Potentially that person's going to be the same way.
Right.
Not always,
Right.
but it definitely depends on the ideology that person has that they grew up with.
And I think as men, as I think this maybe my experience, but like I think it's by and large true. Where as men age, they tend to not care as much about just looks and the baser side of a relationship or the baser side of the male female dynamic, and they actually really start caring about that connection.
Yeah.
But typically, I think earlier on, they're caught up in kind of like the baser desires of just feeling like a from the flesh or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think also women as they age are not as schooled by guys that just want to sleep with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they start actually looking for guys that are not just like uh, they start actually filtering out guys based on their intention.
Yeah.
And they do a better job of it, and they're not as easily fooled by guys that just want to room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really like at least I'll give like an example, I guess, of well, it's not an example. It's kind of like I guess what I'd say what I'm looking in like
take notes
for in a woman pretty much is um basically someone who like is aware, very like aware of themselves and understands like where like just understands where who they are as a person, where they're strong, where they're weak, and like where they're like and also like a upward trajectory of growing as a person. Like they want to grow, they want to become better, and like this isn't that it isn't like I got to a certain place. Like let's say this woman like super successful or something like that.
Sure.
They've accomplished things, but their attitude is like there's a certain thing about them that they just aren't aware of, or they maybe are aware of it, but don't like want to like just genuinely want to be the best person that they can be.
Right.
I'd rather go with someone that like like is aware of things
and looking to grow
and just wanting to grow and like I think life life is a journey and it is all about growing
and
realistic
not just like
there's I'll be blatantly honest there's things that I wish I could change about myself and I'm aware of them but it's like some things it's like almost intangible feeling like I'm intangible like I would love to be a better talker be able to talk smoother like formulate my words better explain myself better but like it I struggle with that sometimes I mean talking doing something like this is a way of improving that so like there's that but yeah there's deficiencies that you see um and want to grow I mean for myself I don't really want to have like I'm not actively searching for a relationship because I've already been in a couple and my first one like not first but yeah so where I got married and ended like there was like I recognized major things that I needed to work on major things I was not gonna just jump in and get married again to another person because I like I wouldn't have admitted it then but there as the more I learned about relationships and stuff I can that I stumbled upon I felt like just inadequate and it's true I had no idea what direction to go what to do and like I was completely lost and like I just stumbled on like this advertisement it was Kylo at the time and I'm grateful I got that it 67 steps I believe the program was I took that and
and
I
this is
finished
relation to business right
no
or what is this just personal growth
personal growth
yeah
like health, wealth, and happiness.
Yeah.
But basically, that was like a precursor to my journey of like just. I mean, it's not very pleasant necessarily because the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, and you start realizing certain things the way that you are that you don't really want to know about. But then you see it and you're like, crap, I've got a lot to learn, and like it can be overwhelming. I remember the day I listened to this person or Theory of Ownership, like this person was asking, what is the best advice you can give someone to like become self aware? And I'm like, I want to become self aware.
And then you realize,
yeah, it's so brutal. Like if you're not aware of your faults, and the thing is, it's not like I wish upon a star and then you can be aware of everything.
Right.
It took active engagement into looking at things that you don't want to look at. That your subconscious almost just ignores.
Right.
In a sense, like or
it's like protecting yourself.
Your brain does not acknowledge these things. Yeah. It's in the back of your subconscious, and it's a very dim, like subconscious thought.
Right.
And a lot of people, like, I mean, not a lot. Like it took a while to exercise the muscle of being aware of subconscious thoughts.
Right.
Because I wasn't aware of my own subconscious thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a muscle. I think that's true. It's kind of like a muscle of like analyzing your actions and your behavior and your thoughts and monitoring them. And then it's also too, because I've had some experience. I'm not saying I'm like self-aware to the point where like actualized or anything like that, but obviously, um, but like I think too, it's like you think that awareness is key, but then once you're aware, it's almost like you're in some ways worse off than where you were before because now you're actually like self-criticizing and like self-condemnation, you know?
Because you can be self-conscious because I'm already a self-conscious person.
Yeah.
Self-consciousness and self-awareness are two different things, but they're kind of like
they're tied.
They're tied in a way.
Yeah.
But it's like self-aware is like when you do something and like you normally if you took yourself 10 years back you wouldn't think about it and then or a couple years back you wouldn't think about it but now like you think about it. Now you think about it and the more you know and the more you realize that you don't know and that you easily fall into traps like I fell for a lot of traps for a long time and it's like
and that's the problem too is like you're aware now but you're still falling into traps. You're still doing that behavior, right? I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying like it can be happen to where you're still, even though you're aware that you're doing particular sets of behaviors. Mm-hmm. Now you're just aware of it. This means that you've stopped those behaviors. Yeah, but now it can lead to actually transformation.
It can lead to transformation, and you can still fall into traps.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like you can still fall into traps, but the muscle of acknowledging that you have fallen to question, even if you believe something.
Yeah.
I believe this cause. Like I had a revelation. I don't want to get into that, but I believed in it, and I believed it was completely right. But then, and I've had this thing where you don't want to listen to like the other side of the argument very much, but because you're kind of in this echo chamber and you agree with this, the other side is just insane.
Yeah.
And then you hear this person is called this, you don't really want to listen to them because they're called that, and like you respect. I respected this person that was interviewing this person.
Yeah.
And I got on that podcast, and that other person forced me to actually reevaluate a lot of things that I was thinking because of my own study of history of certain scenarios where you believe something to be true and the evidence is true and like all these other people are believing the same thing.
Yeah.
In reality, it's an echo chamber in a sense, even though there's truth to it, a lot of truth.
Yeah.
it can be a self basically like the group gets into a fury about these things, and then it's an echo chamber, and the people that they think are doing these things is exacerbated enough.
I might have had a hard time
To where
exacerbated.
they're all feeding off each other, and it's a bigger thing than what this group was, and I'm buying into that whole thing that this group of people are buying into.
And now like you're essentially like talking about like
self-awareness
and realizing that the ideologies that you subscribe to, you're still subscribed to them maybe, but now you can kind of see the other side where like, oh, now it's self-awareness, but it's actually larger than that because you're actually being aware of differences in ideologies, and questioning your side, the beliefs that you have, the ideologies that you hold true. You're allowing yourself to question them, to be critical of them,
even though I don't want to be.
Even though you don't want to be, you're like, no, this is true, but I'm going to allow myself to actually think about if I was in the other person's shoes, holding the other ideology, maybe there's some points here that they have. Maybe I'm not always like, maybe my ideology is not, maybe there's some weak points there. You're essentially like, you're, what they call that? Like you're steel manning, I think is the correct word, steel manning the other's argument that's against your ideology.
Putting it through, kind of putting it through a test. And by the way, just because it's easy to want to just agree with someone and that's it. Like I don't agree with everything this person was saying, but there were some very valid points that I had to take into consideration because I happened to listen to a certain group, and it's a group kind of thing, and I have to evaluate it to see if it's actually as crazy as all these people think it is. And I think a lot of them are crazy. I think a lot of things are. I'm not throwing everything out, but maybe it's not some parts of it aren't actually what I thought it was.
Right. Maybe it's a little bit of an exaggeration. Maybe so. I mean, I think if I'm understanding you correctly, like I think basically what we're kind of talking about is like, Democrats versus Republicans, pro-Israel versus anti-Israel, pro-Palestine. Not any one specific thing, but just in general, these different sides of the debate. It's like, okay, you might believe that communism is 100% correct, but then it's like you start questioning, okay, is communism as an important thing as I believe it is? Are the people that I listen to and the ideologies that they espouse that I believe, are they actually just as important as I think they are? Or does the other person have some point? And that's actually beautiful because it allows you to actually, I think that's why there's these extremes. And really, idealistically, you want to try to center yourself and say, I'm not going to be extreme on this side or this side. It's not always 100% what these people believe or 100% what these people believe. Maybe it's.
Yes. And I do want to apologize because this is like a topic that I is very important to me, and I totally went off of the topic of what I was actually talking about to begin with.
Oh, relationships?
Yeah, relationships.
That's okay.
I went deep on that just because I'm trying to explain self-awareness because I think
it doesn't relate.
It does relate.
It does kind of dovetail in.
It's just a long explanation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a, what do they call that, like a rabbit trail. But it does dovetail in because it's like essentially what we're talking about is personal self-awareness of your personal yourself, your behaviors. But now we're extrapolating out into awareness of ideologies in general and being not just self-critical and self-aware, but also critical of ideology.
I'm going to turn this light on.
Oh, we forgot to put the halo light on, and it's getting dark outside. How foolish of us. Oh, is it plugged in?
I thought so. Maybe I gotta turn on.
Maybe check the brick there. Oh, are we out of power?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, that works.
That works too. That's funny. Anyway, the self-awareness. I think it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is good.
But yeah, I mean, that's just like an example. Like,
And
I'm not saying that's like. I'm saying like self-awareness. I think is important, and just realizing in a conversation you can have rational conversations. I believe that. I've heard people say, yeah, fights are good, and that they're just hashing it out or whatever. And I'm like, I, I I've seen couples that like that don't have these arguments that are like out of hand or whatever, and they're like, well, there's just no passion in it. Like you don't have to be angry, like just get super angry at each other for passion. Like there's passion, like it's like like respect. I think that constantly growing, you're learning how to handle the or like manage the human what it means to be as a human being, manage a lot of these fundamental intrinsical forces inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
You're controlling these things and understanding these things and able to manage them, and you're able to, if you both are reasonable people, you can just talk things through, and
like reasonable adult.
reasonable adult. I don't like the word adults though because
It's kind of demeaning to those less in age.
Yeah, I don't.
Which I don't think
think
age correlates to actually like intel or like,
I think adult is almost a useless word.
it really is because there's a lot of silly adults.
I see a lot of children that are like
More mature.
60, 70 years old.
Right, and a lot of 70-year-olds that are
like yeah. So it's like yeah. Okay. It's true, but I mean that's not disrespect. I mean you can learn something from everyone. True. A lot of times what not to do. Sorry.
Exactly.
I mean
It's true.
It is true, but yeah, I mean,
Sometimes
it's not just like I mean yeah. I mean I can never mind. I'm not gonna go there. But anyway, it's not.
Well, I think it's true. I think sometimes a lot of times people are fighting unnecessarily. So I will say though there is one aspect of fighting I think that is good, and this is just an exception I think, because I think the rule is really you don't live your life in constant conflict. Like that's not a fun life. And it's if you extrapolate that out to like working relationships in like as a career or as a in a business, you don't always want controversy and conflict. But the exception that I think there is with fighting is that you do want to. I think you should try to at least most of the time immediately. Um, if you don't agree with your partner, you should bring that up to them, not in a fighting way, but in a I don't agree with it. And then you can actually talk about it. It doesn't have to be a fight, but I guess more of a disagreement, and then you can work through it. Whereas I think a lot of times I think people can fall into two traps, and they're one is on either side of the path. One is like we disagree all the time, we fight all the time over unnecessary things, and then the other trap that I think some people fall into is that they are just like, well, I don't want to have a disagreement. I disagree with my partner, but I don't want to have a disagreement, so I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm just going to sweep it under. And that's dangerous too, because I think then these disagreements kind of like build up inside the person. They become kind of a bitter.
Yeah. I think I've got a pretty good. Hopefully I can lay this thought out, and it's got like a couple different things, scenario wise, in sense. So I think that I don't think that it's reasonable to what I just said before to be like, oh, everyone should be able to talk things out. I think that's a place that you can work to and get to. But I think that there's like, depending on where you are as a person in your relationship, I think that it's very important to not do things that hurt people to a certain extent. That bushing that button that bushing
Pushing.
that bushing
Don't hit people's bushings.
yes, but yeah, that those buttons that you know that you press. And here's the thing is even if you stop pressing that button now, you've already pressed that button in the future, and there's that thing inside of that other person, that that pain,
Right.
and that that lack of respect they got, and vice versa, they probably did the same thing to you.
Right.
And so it depends on where you are at in a relationship. That's why I think it's so fundamental when you get into a relationship. That's why yeah, jumping. Um, that's why it's important when you are in a like when at the beginning at the relationship you try to hold on to these standards, to not go beyond a certain point. And yes, you can fight and stuff and grow together, but as long as you both are growing, not one like you got like not flying off the handle to a certain point,
Right.
and it
Don't say things
and
you
it's
can't take
easy.
back.
It's easy for me to say that because I'm not in a relationship right now.
Right.
But the thing is like,
But you've had a lot of experience.
I've had relationships, and
Yeah.
I've like
You have a lot of experience in that area.
yeah, but well, I think about it a lot too, and I've observed relationships that I admire, and I see that, and it's really easy to fall into the trap. And I've practiced resisting, like resisting impulse to like say things to people, right, stuff, and like it's very hard because as you can tell, sometimes I've got something on my chest and like really wanting to say, right, and I'm like really hard like trying to hold that, but
it's tough. It's tough because I think what you're getting at, and this is kind of what I'm thinking about too, is like you those two traps, one on the other side of the path that I talked about. That's true, but then it's also true as far as like how you engage in the disagreement. If you're going to engage in the disagreement and knowing when to disagree, because sometimes like it's like you know you don't like the way your partner like you know maybe like pours water or something.
yeah,
Well, that might be just something you have to get over,
yeah,
right? Like you can't just be so critical of everything. But and then also when you're disagreeing with them about something that maybe is very meaningful to you.
mm-hmm.
I think this is why just kind of I think that's why a lot of times a married couple say pick your fight is because they're saying like don't you got to be balanced between
yeah,
bringing something up and disagreeing and being critical. And then I think also when you disagree about something, you got to be careful on how you engage in the disagreement. And I think maybe what you were talking about earlier is like you don't want to like one thing I heard, and I think it's very true, and I try to keep it in mind, which is don't ever attack somebody's like facial appearance.
mm-hmm.
So if you're in a disagreement with your partner and you're like you have mustache hair from a woman or something like that, or you're like attacking their physical appearance, it's like that's something that is like disrespectful. It's hurtful. It doesn't really help anything, and and that person isn't likely to forget that. And it's like a disrespect on a certain level where it's like you can't necessarily walk it back.
I guess I'm not understanding what you're like if you're in an argument if they're like not looking their best or something.
No. Like let's say you're in an argument and you're angry at your partner.
Oh, and there might be a flaw.
There might be a flaw that you see that they have physically, and because you're so angry, you're attacking that flaw to hurt them.
Ooh,
you know,
that's primal.
It is primal, and I think that's very hard to walk back from that.
Yeah, that can be very very hurtful.
And it could almost I think most things can be fixed, but it can almost be a permanent damage to your relationship. And maybe you didn't you love the way they look, but you do see a physical flaw, but you're so angry that you just want to hurt them.
I think
that's bad.
That's a pretty advanced level if you're getting to that point mentally where you're just completely losing like you're just looking at that person in a way where you're totally taking them for granted. that's an easy trap to like just taking someone for granted. I know that
That's
I
true.
fell into that in my marriage where I started taking her for granted because it was like we were so close that it was um like I mean I didn't really have any references or anything like that, and it's like I just started taking things for granted, and that's like, and you start to like not appreciate things and stuff. And
Right. She's always going to be around. It's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, I can do whatever. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. Yeah, I think I've had that too.
And that's partly because of religion too. Religion's like, oh, we're married for life, in a sense.
I would actually agree with you.
I mean, I live that. Mentally, that's kind of something that was. I mean, that was literally in my. I was like, I'm married. I'm with this person forever. That's what I thought.
And there's nothing I can do or they can do to change that. And that is I think that's very true. Which is like, and that's actually
that's an unhealthy thing in my opinion, marriage wise, because it makes you take the other person for granted. It helps eases you
towards that.
Yeah. And
I think that's true. I think that I have had that thought before where I feel like okay, you get married and then that person like okay, this is an example. This is kind of a superficial example, but like they let themselves go.
Uh-huh.
Because they're just like, oh, well, I don't have to really compete in the sexual marketplace. Mm-hmm. I can just be as I am, however that is. I can be slobby, fat, slap, just whatever. And you think, well, I'm married. I don't have to really even try anymore.
Yeah.
But the problem is that person may always love you, but they may not always desire you.
Yeah.
And that's
that is I can see that. To me, I see that pretty clearly. I that's one reason where I forget where I heard this, but it's like it's not a fear of losing that person, but it's like you don't have that ideology in the back of your mind. Like I'm not gonna have that ideology in the back of my mind. I don't like I don't I don't have that religious thing where okay, I'm with this person for the rest of my life. But that being said, if I did choose to marry someone, I would still have the commitment in my mind to stay with that. If I decide to marry someone, I'm in my mind I'm committed forever. But I'm not gonna have that part of that in my mind where it's like I'm taking this for granted. Right. Like and I think that's completely damaging. There's certain things with religion that I just see. I see the effects of it. It sounds good, but do it like playing it out. There's certain things in religion that I see in real life that I just disagree with.
Yeah,
playing it out long term.
I think with marriage, it's like there's a whole host of pros that come with marriage because I think you can kind of like when you like I feel like when you are married, there's a lot there's it makes it's more intimate, more meaningful. It's more like you can kind of relax. You don't have to be as insecure or worry about that as much. But at the same time, I think a certain level of worrying about that is healthy.
Yeah.
About your partner leaving you. And I think also, I think this is the problem is like people say love is forever, but I think love is actually very, it depends. Like, because it's like, I've said this before to people, I've had this discussion before where I'm like, okay, like, even with my parents, I'm like, yeah, but if I had married all my brothers and sisters,
got dark quick.
It got dark quick. But if I did, let's say hypothetically, you might feel a different way about me.
Yeah.
So it's love is I think love is love has stipulations too.
Yeah.
Love is tied to it's a performance thing.
There is love that goes on the line of mental illness though.
There is for some people, yeah. It's like the
this person can do no wrong.
Well, there is. I mean, well, you see that there's some men and women where like their partner like ended up just like beating the crap out of them, and then they ended up in jail, and they're going to the jail to see them. That happens.
That's that's a weird. Weird. I mean, it's totally true. Weird though.
Yeah.
It's like it has like some sort of like it's like some sort of psychic like not psychic like
It's a mental illness.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird. It's
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, but it's the same thing where it's like you get married or something, and then the guy like loses his job. Okay, well that's something, and then he just like doesn't do anything, but then he try to get a job. Okay, well, then he's just eating pizza instead of watching movies, and then all of a sudden you know he he just a downward spiral,
Yeah.
and then she leaves him. Everybody goes, "What a piece of crap she is, so shallow." Not really. It's like, did he just not uphold his side of the bargain?
That's that situation again. There's so many.
There's balance to it.
There's no yeah. That's a tough one. And the thing is like there's situations where that happens, and the woman has the right to leave. That I think that they have the right, and but in a sense, like that is also like through the hard times and the stuff like it's sticking with people through difficult times in a sense. I guess because I mean, because I see myself
Yeah.
as the guy that you were just talking about, kind of like
Okay.
just the kind of like deadbeat or whatever that just.
Yeah, but you've always held a job, and
I've had times where after my bankruptcy, I think I had about I mean I was working here and there.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think and I think that's where there's balance, where it's like at some point you have to be like, everybody's not, you can't be perfect all the time, and sometimes the woman might be depressed, or like the guy might be depressed, or life is hard, or circumstances, or whatever the case, right?
The best thing to have when in that situation, if you like, if you're going through a hard time,
Understand?
hey, Patrick, what's up? I'm kind of having a rough day, and then back and forth, you got friendships or whatever, or like you're like you both are supporting each other, lifting each other up. Good.
Yeah, I think, but and then there's but another point that I thought about that adds to my larger point, which is I think the stipulations to love, which is that um, everybody, for the most part, by and large, if their partner cheats on them, they leave. Not always, but by and large. And why? That was a stipulation. That was a stipulation.
Yeah.
Is you don't sleep with other people.
What I actually, sorry, I kind of want to see what you think about this.
Okay.
I heard, I think it was Order of Man podcast. I forget the guy's name, but he was giving an example. He's like, I don't, I don't complain about things. My wife really, like, that's what I got my friends for. Like, I talk about a lot of these things with my friends, and I don't put these things on my wife. I don't come home and just vent all these things to her. If and she doesn't. I don't. In his relationship, I don't think she really did that to him either. And she would like kind of talk to her girlfriend, whatever, about certain things. But they would talk about things. It wasn't. But it wasn't like I'm keeping things from the. It's like it was like kind of like holding the relationship sacred, and it didn't really. It wasn't that he couldn't or she couldn't. It's just like they kind of chose to like keep their 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 relationship sacred almost to where like they would try to hold like they would try to keep certain things um outside that really that other person couldn't solve. And yeah, you could vent, but if it's constantly just venting about all your problems with this person, especially if it's one sided,
Right.
like this the friend that is always complaining and stuff. And I admit when I was younger I was that person. I would just like talk about my problems all the time. All the time. That was it.
Right.
And that's emotionally draining. And it got to a point where I think I only had like one friend. Like
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a balance. right? So like,
balance.
I think it really it's crazy how many things in life that's the emphasis, but
It is.
like I think if you're in a relationship and you're constantly coming home to your girl and you're just like, dude, like you just listen to my day, and then and you do it all the time, I think it can get exhausting to her. But I also think I'm also not really on the side of the guys that say, oh, like if I cry in front of her, or if I say I had a hard day, she's gonna leave.
Yeah.
Like then, like if you can't vent a little bit to them to your partner because you're afraid that they're gonna leave, like
I think
I don't know if that's a good relationship, you know?
Yeah, it's just intriguing because that's why I asked him. Like thinking about it because I'm not sure. I guess it works for them. But yeah, I think balance is probably the way. It's not like, well, how was your day? It was kind of rough, but I'm back home now, so I'm good.
Right.
You know, it's like, well, like if it's like obvious. I think if the question comes along where she's like, did anything happen? Your body language and the way that you're arriving at home is already telling her
how
your day went. It was a good how your day went, and that you need to talk about it. Right. So she's gonna understand that. But if you're like, you're like, yeah, you got your you. I think that there's. I don't think that you should put all of that stuff.
Right.
All of that stuff. Problems that are like yeah, she's a good listener and stuff, but yeah, maybe not. Maybe like talk about some other things and try to. I think that there's something to leave work at work in a sense.
I think
not always,
yeah,
but there is. I mean, actually, this is in the military. If like when the men are in Afghanistan, you don't tell the women what's going on.
Right.
When you're at war, that's a no-no.
Right.
It never ends up good.
Right.
Because they can't. They're away from you first of all.
Right.
So putting all of this on them, they're what are they going to be thinking about?
Right.
They're going to be
it's trauma,
complete trauma, just worrying about you the whole time. So I think that balance.
Yeah, I think it is. I think the other thing is like I think it's balance, but then it's like you have to gauge where you're at in your relationship with your woman or your if you're a woman relationship with a man. I think sometimes too it's like there's two things I feel like. So like one, it can get exhausting if you're always complaining.
Mm-hmm.
That can be it can be exhausting for a friend. Like if every time that you talk to someone, for one, it's all about you, and for two, it's all negative.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a recipe for probably a good situation. Eventually, most people are going to be like, dude, every time I talk to this bro, every time I talk to this guy, he's negative, and he just talks about his problem. He doesn't care about it, right? Yeah. And then it's like,
yeah,
get away.
And by the way, that's like the self awareness thing. Like that was me for a while.
Yeah.
It's very like, and I still have an issue about it because it's like I'm trying to figure out life or whatever, and it may be like an aspect I'm trying to like almost like trying to get advice or whatever. And,
right.
But then like if someone fights, they screw up. Now I'm like it's like yeah, it's kind of something like yeah.
I think it can be tricky. And then the other thing I think about with specifically a woman, this is I'm not really sure how I feel about this either, but this is roughly what I think, which is that like generally I feel like if you're a woman or if you're a man, you want to feel like you're in a relationship with somebody that is comfortable. Mm-hmm. And you want to feel like that they're intelligent, mm-hmm. they're capable, because those just tend to be attractive traits.
Yeah.
And also for a woman, it's like those traits biologically, genetically, they're like Would you rather be with the guy that's like not going to be able to protect you? The guy that's not going to be able to take care of your kids? That's not going to be able to provide for you? You know? So then it's like if you're coming home from work and you're like, I blew it at work. Just listen to how bad I messed this up.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I think that's kind of a good way to go about it, potentially.
it could be. But then it's like
I screwed up bad
I
today.
screwed up real bad today. But then it's like the next day. Guess what, babe? Today again,
Oh.
I'm horrible. Right? Listen to how bad I am. It's kind of like what you're doing is you're basically saying to her, I'm not competent. I'm not going to be a good provider. I probably can't take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take care of our kids. And by the way, if someone attacks us, you're probably gonna die because I'm not capable. And so then it's like I think there's a balance too because it's like there's things that happen. Everybody screws up here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but it goes this. I like to apply this to business. It goes the same with your manager.
Yeah.
Should you never admit to a mistake? Definitely, you should admit to some mistakes. If you made a mistake and it didn't cause any problems, should you just advertise it and say, hey, manager, guess what? I just screwed up. It didn't cost the company any money, but it could have cost us billions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you don't need to share that information.
Yeah.
And the reason why
There's
I say,
balance.
Yeah, there's a balance.
Again, the key word. Because, I mean, yeah, there are situations, like, I have done what you're saying, like, not, like when you screw up or something could have been bad, you averted it. You're not going to do it again, and unless it's like,
and you just want to kind of get it
unless it's something that's solvable, like unless there's like a problem and that's going to happen again, and you're just not being competent.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's tough. I mean,
now we're talking about something different. Yeah.
Sort of. But I also think in some ways it's like this is hilarious. And this is a little thing I thought about before. But like yeah, if you aren't competent, if you're not capable, maybe if you're the best of men, if you're a really good man, maybe you should tell her because maybe she should leave you. And maybe that's what's best for her. And maybe if you truly love her,
maybe that's best for you.
And maybe that's what's best for you.
I mean, that's a tough one. It's like, I mean, yeah, that there's a reason why I'm not married right now.
But that's kind of like now it's kind of dovetails into like Jordan Peterson because he says don't lie through either commission or omission. So commission is lying verbally, and then omission is just not saying something that you know to be true.
Yeah.
Hey babe, how was work? Good.
Good.
You're omitting information, so you're lying.
Yeah.
And Jordan Peterson says, if you don't lie, commission or omission, whatever results from not lying is the best thing that could happen. Period.
No omission.
Yeah. So no, if you don't lie through omission, basically not telling the truth or not saying things that you know would get you in trouble or may make you look bad, and you don't lie by altering the truth by saying something that's not true, then whatever happens to you as a result of that, whatever consequence happens, is the best thing that can happen. That's what Jordan Peterson said. And so, like, basically meaning like, hey, babe, how was your day? I screwed up bad. You're not omitting the truth. You're not saying the truth. You're saying the truth. And if she leaves you as a consequence of that, that's the best thing that can happen to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and maybe that's the truth. Maybe that is the nature of reality. And maybe maybe it's selfish to not, even though not saying something is helpful to you, it's actually not helpful to you.
I wasn't meaning it in a way to where it's like, if there's something seriously going wrong, then yeah, you need to talk about it with your spouse. I wasn't saying that. It's like, no, I'm saying like
Complaining
there
and-
could be like something that's not. It's really not that big of a deal.
Right.
But I guess that is
Omitted.
well, no, it's speculative. It's based off of your perception if it is a big deal.
That's true too.
So your
That's
perception
so
might be
complicated.
what?
It's so complicated.
But yeah, no,
It is complicated, but I do know that I don't think complaining is good.
yeah, over complaining for the sake of complaining.
Even though I love complaining.
Yeah. Tuesday sucked, man.
Tell me about it.
Just kidding.
Actually, don't tell me about it. I don't want to be afraid.
Yeah. I already told you about it. So.
No, but
no, it's all good.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Life is complicated, or as important as it to me.
Yeah.
You know, and but I think like going back to what you were saying earlier, which is that I think you're looking for a woman that is just as aware as you are, has different flaws, but is aware of it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, just general, like basically just someone that wants to grow. It's like I'm not the like even if I found someone right now, I'd be like I'm not like, hey, I'm interested in a long-term relationship, but at this point in my life, I'm not in a stable position in life, so I want to like I would be willing to be in a relationship, but I'm just saying I'm not gonna make
make that a priority.
I'm not gonna. Well, it's not that I wouldn't make it a decent priority. It's just like don't expect. Well, first of all, I'm not. I don't know where I'm going with. I guess I would be totally fine in a relationship. I'm just not actively searching for that because I'm not in a stable, in a general idea or general place I want to be.
But what if she's okay?
Then that's fine. That happens. That happens. But I'm not actively searching. But I guess that it's basically like, but also like I'm. Yeah, I guess I don't. I guess there's really no point in going this direction. Um, I was gonna jump to a different topic, but yeah, I was thinking about marriage, and I'm like, well, you don't have to be married. I don't. Marriage is a whole nother thing, like where it's like yeah, it's basically like yeah, marriage is a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
I don't know why I was thinking about marriage because I'm willing to be in a relationship with someone, a serious relationship, but I'm not actively doing that because I don't have the means to be able to do the things that I'd want to do. To like, I mean, trips, stuff like that. Right? But, yeah.
You're a girl that looks like vacation.
Yeah, and that's not. Yeah, I want.
That you want to get.
I want to have financial freedom to where I'm free to do things, and I'd love to have a partner that we can go to kind of camping. Yeah, do interesting stuff like road trips. Yeah. Road trips. I don't know how outdoor. I don't know how outdoorsy I am now. No, I like camping. I'll go camping. Yeah. Yeah, I really want to go to Greece, Italy. I want to go to Africa, see the pyramids. I want to go see a bunch of different places. Okay. Yeah. And I like
Area 51.
Go like something, snorkeling.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother just went snorkeling.
Right. Yeah. I haven't gone snorkeling in like 12 years.
I haven't been snorkeling.
That's not even. Dude, you go snorkeling.
Yeah, my brother said that the water was so salty where he was at in the Virgin Islands, but he didn't really have to have it. So, sure.
Have you been to the ocean before?
Yeah.
My mind was going to the
Right, I don't think it was that salty.
It was that salty.
I don't think it was that salty. But he was basically saying like
it's the ocean.
Right. He's like, it's strange. I'm in the ocean and it's salty. I never expected it. No, I don't think it was that. I think it was just like he was surprised at how buoyant he was. Because I think normally his feet just sink down, and I mean that's totally freshwater, but like it was enough to where he could just float around and they have to actively.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, I think there is different even in the ocean. There's different areas with different higher salt content.
Yeah.
Salinity.
Is that right?
No idea.
I think salinity
sounds different. I don't know.
Anyway,
salinity? Maybe.
I think it.
Let's look it up.
I probably said it. I
probably
said it wrong.
Fact check.
I can't speak sometimes.
Salinity. How do you spell
it? SOLIN maybe. I promised I had an A in grade school in spelling. Actually, texting was the fun.
Oh, like saline. Salinity. Yeah.
Yeah, I was right.
You're right. I didn't even think about like saline.
Yeah.
Saline.
And you went to medical.
I did. I'm disappointed.
Salinity.
Salinity.
Yeah,
I said it right. I'm somewhat educated.
Right. Yeah, so higher salinity.
Yeah.
That's
Well, anyways, yeah, about ready to wrap this up. I'm getting late.
Getting late. Yep. But yeah, so it's fun hanging out, chilling, vibing. Hopefully, even if you guys watch this, be entertained, maybe.
Yeah.
Find some insight into your relationship.
Actively learning about like I like to think about many things, and I know like there's people out there that find these things interesting potentially, and it's just figuring out the maze of life, what works, and I do take it seriously. So I do observe a lot of different people, and I think that just being honest with yourself at the end of the day, like it's just important to sometimes living life and not um facing truth or trying to go for truth is like it can be something not good if you don't. Yep. Not as fulfilling of life. And I've just seen different uh I've I've observed many different lives who I don't have that life. And I want to strive to be the best that I can be as a person.
And better is better.
Better is better.
So
I'm nowhere close to where I want to be. Not even close.
I really like something that popped in my head, which is Matthew McConaughey. I think he gave some award speech or something I heard one time, and I really liked it. He said, I'm a butcher it, but he basically said like, you know, someone asked him who his hero was, and he said, "I'll think about that." And the next time he saw him, he said, I figured out who my hero is myself. And he said, then 10 years went by, that same person said, "Who's your hero?" And I said,
Yeah.
my hero. And he said, I'll never be my hero. He said, but it's just something
to aim for, be better.
To be better and to always improve. And just trying to leave the world and improve yourself, the world around you, and
Yeah.
So, cheers to getting better.
Yeah. Hope you all have a great week.
Peace.